They laughed at him. They destroyed his career. They made sure everyone knew his secret just to watch him fall. But when their lives hung by a thread, there was only one person who could save them. The same person they had tried to destroy. Did he actually want to save them? Marcus Chen was a decorated firefighter with 12 years of impeccable service. He had pulled 23 people from burning buildings. He had received commendations for bravery. His record was flawless. Until the day someone found the photos on his phone. Photos of him with his partner. Photos that revealed what Marcus had kept private for over a decade. Within 48 hours, those photos were plastered across every locker in the firehouse. Within a week, his life became a living nightmare. The same men who had trusted him with their lives now refused to work with him. The same team that had called him brother now called him something else entirely. Something designed to break him. Captain Brennan led the charge. A 20-year veteran with deep connections to the old guard, Brennan made it his personal mission to make Marcus quit. Marcus would arrive at the station to find his gear moved, his equipment tampered with. His shift assignments changed without notice. During briefings, Brennan would make jokes. Pointed jokes about trust and masculinity, and who you could really count on when the flames got high. The other firefighters followed Brennan's lead because that's what you do when you want to survive. You pick a side. And Marcus was now on the wrong side. When Marcus tried to report the harassment, his complaints disappeared. When he requested a transfer, he was told there were no available positions. The message was clear. Leave on your own, or we'll make you leave. But Marcus didn't leave. He showed up every single day. He polished his equipment. He studied the protocols. He maintained his certifications. And that only made them angrier. Because his refusal to break felt like defiance. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night during a routine drill. Brennan called Marcus forward as the volunteer in front of the entire crew. Marcus completed the drill in silence, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth ached. After the drill, someone had written something on his locker. 3 words that cut deeper than any blade. That night, Marcus sat in his car in the parking lot for 2 hours. He drafted a resignation letter on his phone. He got halfway through it. Then he deleted it. Not because he had hope, but because he refused to let them win. What Marcus didn't know was that within 72 hours, the people who had destroyed him would need him more desperately than they had ever needed anyone. The call came in at 2:17 in the morning. A massive fire at a chemical plant. Multiple explosions. Structure collapse in progress. All hands on deck. Marcus was off duty, but his radio crackled with the urgent tones. Then he heard something that made his blood turn cold. Engine 12 was first on scene. Brennan's company. The men who had spent months making his life hell. Marcus lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He thought about turning off the radio. He thought about how nobody would blame him if he just didn't show up. After 2 minutes of silence, Marcus got out of bed. He put on his gear. He drove to the scene. Not because he forgave them, but because there's a difference between being a good person and being the person people deserve. When Marcus arrived, the scene was chaos. Flames towered 50 feet into the sky. The heat was so intense you could feel it from 100 yards away. Nobody was making entry. Marcus heard the words that explained everything. Trapped firefighters. Engine 12 had made entry during the initial attack. Then a secondary explosion had collapsed the corridor behind them. 5 firefighters cut off. No communication. Brennan and 4 others. The same men who had mocked Marcus. Now buried somewhere in a burning building. The battalion chief was trying to find an alternate route. Every option looked impossible. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but everyone was thinking it. Those men were already dead. Then someone noticed Marcus. The chief turned and looked at him with an expression that was half desperation and half shame. The battalion chief pulled Marcus aside. They needed someone with advanced hazmat certification and confined space rescue training. Someone who knew industrial chemical facilities. Marcus had all 3 certifications. He was one of only 4 people in the entire district with that skill set. The other 3 were already committed elsewhere. Marcus was the only option. The chief looked Marcus in the eye and asked if he was willing. This wasn't just about firefighting. This was about everything that had happened. Everything Brennan had done. Everything the department had allowed. And now they needed Marcus to risk his life for the people who had tried to destroy it. Marcus looked at the burning building. He thought about all the clever things he could say, all the moral high ground he could claim. Then he thought about 5 human beings suffocating in the dark. Marcus looked back and said for words, "Tell me the entry point." Marcus suited up and studied the structural plans one more time. It was a suicide mission. Everyone watching knew it. Marcus could see it in their faces. The mixture of guilt and relief that someone else was taking this risk. Someone they had treated like garbage was now their only hope. He was about to start toward the entry point when Johnson grabbed his arm. Johnson's face was streaked with soot and tears. Marcus could see the question in his eyes. "Why are you doing this?" Marcus didn't answer. He just walked toward the flames. Marcus crawled through the opening into hell. The temperature was beyond survivable. Visibility was absolute 0. Marcus moved by feel and memory. He called out on the radio, but heard only static. The building groaned around him like a dying animal. Somewhere ahead, 5 men were running out of air and time. And the only person who could reach them was the person they had tried to break. Marcus pushed deeper, crawling through spaces that weren't meant for human passage. His air supply was dropping faster than calculated. Then, through the roar of the fire, Marcus heard something. A metallic tapping. Rhythmic. The universal signal for trapped firefighters. Marcus followed the sound. His thermal camera picked up 5 signatures. Weak but present. Marcus saw them. Brennan and 4 others. They were in bad shape. Low on air. One was unconscious. When Brennan saw Marcus emerge from the smoke, his eyes went wide with disbelief. Marcus didn't waste time with words. He assessed their condition and began rigging the escape system. The route back was compromised. They would need an alternate path. Marcus made the decision in 3 seconds. There was a utility shaft that connected to the external ventilation system. A vertical climb of 40 feet through a space never designed for humans. It was the only option. Marcus explained the plan using hand signals. Brennan was staring at him with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. Marcus got them moving. The climb was brutal. Marcus went first, establishing the rope line. Then he helped guide each firefighter up, one by one. The unconscious man had to be lifted using a system Marcus rigged on the spot. Brennan came last. As he climbed past Marcus, their eyes met. Brennan opened his mouth to say something, but Marcus just pointed upward. "Keep climbing." They broke through onto the roof just as Marcus's air supply hit critical. Around them, firefighters rushed forward. Medics swarmed with oxygen. In the chaos, Marcus stood apart, watching as the men he had saved were loaded into ambulances. Brennan was the last to be taken. Before the medics closed the doors, he turned and looked back at Marcus. Their eyes locked for 3 seconds. 3 seconds that contained 12 months of cruelty. 3 seconds where everything either changed or nothing did. The next morning, Marcus was called into the district chief's office. He found Brennan sitting there. Brennan's arm was bandaged. His face was still marked with burns. But he was alive. The chief left them alone. The silence lasted forever. Finally, Brennan spoke. His voice was rough from smoke and shame. He told Marcus he had spent the entire night thinking about what had happened. About the man who had crawled through hell to save the people who had made his life hell. Brennan said he didn't understand it. He said he didn't deserve it. He asked the question everyone would ask, "Why did you save us?" Marcus thought about all the complicated answers. Instead, he said something simpler, because that's the job. The job isn't to save the people you like. The job is to save people. Period. What happened next took 6 weeks. Brennan didn't give a speech. He changed. He removed every person who had participated in Marcus's harassment from his crew. He filed complaints. He used his political capital to make sure people faced consequences. Then he told everyone in the department what Marcus had done. Not just the rescue, but what it meant. Brennan became Marcus's advocate. He pushed for Marcus's promotion. He changed departmental policies around harassment. It wasn't redemption. It was accountability. 3 months later, the department held a ceremony. Marcus received the Medal of Valor. His family was there. His partner was there. And standing behind him was Brennan. The story spread because it was about something people needed to believe was possible. That cruelty could be answered with compassion. That the person you tried to break could become the person who saves you. After the ceremony, a reporter asked Marcus if he had forgiven them. Marcus said, "I didn't save them because I forgave them. I saved them because saving people is what firefighters do." Today, Marcus Chen is a captain. He trains new firefighters that the job is about service, not judgment. That when someone's life is on the line, nothing else matters. Brennan retired and created a scholarship fund in Marcus's name for LGBTQ firefighters. They're not friends, but there's respect. The kind that only comes from seeing someone's true character when everything is on the line. So here's my question. What would you have done? If you were Marcus, would you have gone in? Would you have risked everything for people who gave you nothing? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Would you have saved them? And if this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe. Marcus Chen showed us what real strength looks like. Now the question is, what will we do with that example?